The plane's wheels kissed the tarmac at Reagan National Airport, and I, Daniel Morgan, exhaled deeply, relieved to be back in Washington, D.C. At 54, I'd carved out a good life as a lawyer, with a charming three-bedroom colonial on Cedar Lane in the serene Brookhaven Estates. My backyard, complete with towering oaks, a manicured lawn, and prize-winning azaleas, was my haven, a testament to years of grinding through law school and building my practice. But as my Uber rolled up to my house that warm Sunday afternoon in May, an unsettling sound hit me, loud, tacky pop music blasting from behind my fence. Laughter, clinking glasses, and chatter followed. My chest tightened. What was happening in my backyard? I hauled my suitcase to the side gate, my lawyer's instincts kicking in. Peering through the slats, I froze. My backyard had been hijacked by what looked like a baby shower gone rogue. Pink and blue balloons bobbed from my patio chairs. A garish banner reading "Baby Wilson Coming Soon" stretched between my trees. At least 20 strangers milled about, sipping drinks, using my gas grill, and lounging on my furniture like they owned the place. At the center stood a woman in her late 50s, her platinum blonde hair sprayed into a helmet, wearing a hot pink dress that strained against her pregnant belly. Fuzzy slippers completed her look. She waved a red Solo cup like a queen holding court. I didn't know her, but she radiated trouble. Fury surged through me. This was my property sanctuary, and I wasn't about to let this slide. I yanked open the gate with a bang, silencing the crowd. 20 pairs of eyes turned to me, a tall black man in a wrinkled suit, dragging a suitcase, looking like I'd just caught a thief in my house. "Excuse me," I said, my voice sharp but measured, honed from years in courtrooms. "What the hell is going on in my backyard?" The woman, let's call her Margaret Evans, stepped forward, her smirk dripping with condescension. "Oh, honey, you must be confused," she said, her tone syrupy but venomous. "This is HOA common area. We're hosting my baby shower, and we have every right to be here." I laughed, the audacity almost impressive. "Ma'am, this is my private property. I've got the deed, the mortgage, and the tax bills to prove it. You have 5 minutes to clear out before I call the police." Margaret's face flushed crimson, clashing with her dress. "Now, you listen here," she snapped, her voice low and pointed. "I don't know who you think you are, but we don't tolerate troublemakers in this neighborhood." The word troublemaker landed like a slap, but I held my ground. I pulled out my phone, hitting record. "You're trespassing, using my grill, my electricity, and my water. Get out, or I'm calling 911. Instead of backing down, Margaret dialed 911 herself. "Yes, hello," she said, her voice suddenly quivering with fake fear. "There's a man here threatening me and my friends. I'm pregnant and scared." I stared, stunned by her Oscar-worthy act. This woman was calling the police on me for existing in my own backyard. The crowd murmured, some nodding like they bought her story. I realized I wasn't just facing one entitled woman, I was up against a mindset, a community that saw me as an outsider. Officers Sanchez and Davis arrived, their faces weary, clearly wishing they were anywhere else. Margaret waddled over, hand on her belly, playing the damsel in distress. "Officers, thank God." This man came out of nowhere, yelling and taking pictures. I handed over my driver's license, utility bills, and property tax statement. "I'm Daniel Morgan. This is my house at 1423 Cedar Lane. I came home from a trip to find these people trespassing. When I asked them to leave, Mrs. Evans called you." Margaret insisted it was common area, claiming the previous owners, the Thompsons, had moved out 6 months ago. I corrected her. The Thompsons lived 3 houses down and had relocated to Florida. My house had been mine for 2 years, bought from the Pattersons. The officers studied my documents, their expression shifting. "Ma'am," Sanchez said, "this is private property. You and your guests need to leave." Margaret's face twisted. "This is discrimination. These people move in and think they can change everything." The air grew heavy. Both officers stiffened, and I felt the familiar sting of being judged for my skin. "Ma'am," Davis said, his tone firm, "leave now, or we'll have a different conversation." As the crowd dispersed, I surveyed the damage. My $800 Weber grill was caked with hamburger grease and pink frosting, my patio furniture rearranged, cigarette butts littered near my azaleas. My blood boiled. This wasn't over. 3 days later, a letter arrived on official Brookhaven Estates HOA letterhead. It accused me of disturbing the peace, harassing residents, and failing to maintain community standards. They demanded I attend a meeting to address my behavior. My law partner, Thomas Reed, called, barely containing his laughter. Margaret Evans wants to sue you for harassment. Says you intimidated her with your threatening presence and disrupted her baby shower. I dug into the HOA's history, uncovering 3 discrimination complaints settled out of court and a pattern of selective enforcement targeting newer residents. Margaret's son, Edward Wilson, had been HOA president for 6 years, elected by a suspiciously small margin. I arrived at the community center for the meeting in my best courtroom suit, armed with a recorder, the HOA bylaws, and a stack of documents. Margaret held court by the coffee station, her floral dress a suburban cliché. Edward sat at the head table, sweating profusely. I stood, citing Virginia code to record the meeting. Margaret shrieked, "You can't just start talking." I quoted the bylaws, securing my right to speak. The room tensed as I laid out the facts. Margaret's trespassing, her false 911 call, her comments about these people not belonging. Her brother-in-law, Richard Evans, a burly man in a hunting vest, stood. "We don't appreciate outsiders stirring up trouble." "Outsiders?" I said. "I own a home here. What makes me an outsider?" Richard stepped closer. "You know what I mean, people who don't respect tradition." The subtext was unmistakable. Margaret doubled down, saying I needed to learn my place. Then 3 more Evans men, Margaret's brothers, John, Paul, and Stephen, burst in, their presence a clear intimidation tactic. I cited the bylaws, forcing them to leave since they weren't residents. The meeting erupted as I announced plans to sue for discrimination, harassment, and defamation. "This isn't about a baby shower," I said. "It's about a group uncomfortable with change, using the HOA to harass those they don't think belong." Richard growled, "You think you're so smart with your legal talk." I met his gaze. "I think I'm informed. Facts win in court." The FBI entered the picture after I shared my recordings. Special Agent Emily Chin opened a civil rights investigation. Other minority families, the Hernandez, Chun, and Lopez households, came forward with stories of excessive violations for minor issues, like lawn height or holiday decorations. The FBI raided the HOA office, really Edward's home office, and seized boxes of incriminating records. Margaret, undeterred, gave a TV interview, admitting on live television that some people don't belong and should leave if they don't conform. Her words were a prosecutor's dream. The arrests came fast. Margaret, Edward, and Richard were charged with federal civil rights violations. Margaret's TV confession and my recordings left no room for defense. Edward took a plea deal, testifying against his mother and uncle. Margaret and Richard were convicted, sentenced to federal prison. The HOA dissolved, its board resigned, and all violations were dropped. I settled a lawsuit against the former board, using the funds to start a legal aid program for housing discrimination victims. Life on Cedar Lane is peaceful now. I sip coffee in my backyard, my azaleas thriving, my new grill gleaming under a security camera. Kids bike down the street, neighbors wave, and the community feels lighter. The baby Wilson banner hangs framed in my office, a reminder of the fight. Margaret still complains from prison. Edward moved away after his sentence, and the Evans brothers sold their land and vanished. My inbox overflows with emails from across the country, people inspired to fight their own HOA battles or thanking me for standing up. This wasn't just about a backyard. It was about justice, about refusing to let prejudice win. I think of the families who spoke up, the neighbors who apologized quietly, the community that's slowly healing. The lesson? Never underestimate a lawyer with a recorder and a cause. And if you're going to trespass, check the deed first. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. How would you handle a situation like this? Do you believe justice was served, or did the punishment go too far? Let's talk about confronting injustice and standing against bullying in our communities. Your voice matters. Join the conversation.